you. I'm allowed to roll my window up. You have my ID.
Right.
Go run it. Nigga, don't knock on my window no more. You have my ID. Roll run it. Fuck you.
Hey, you wearing your seatbelt?
Hey, excuse me, sir. Don't.
Oh, I figured this would happen. Lamika's good old bad internet.
I saw it. Stop for a second.
stopped.
You was like,
because we're on the because now we're actually live.
We're hey, look at us.
We're actually live on multiple platforms.
Let's go. Wow, this is.
Let's see how the if can you see the TikTok?
I don't know what I'm seeing right now. I'm just I see comments come in. We got 3 comments.
See, that's the thing. So now whatever that double thing was, that was what was giving us the extra sound. But I'm trying to think if that was analog. Maybe I tried this. Hold on. Let's see if we can get something here. Oh, let me see if the.
All right. I'm in the chat too. So I'm a be commenting with y'all.
It's always something. I wish this would just work.
What's wrong now?
No, I want things to work another way. I want to hear.
Wait, so you can't hear the
on TikTok?
debate?
I had it going direct so you could hear what was
but
coming.
It started to echo.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to just deal with the echo. Like, why don't we just shut the fuck up while they're talking, and then like, I don't know, maybe we could be like, comment. Like I'll be like this, and then you can mute it for a second. I don't know.
I feel like it. Okay, output. If that means that the audio is going to output, I know what's go. No, I don't. No, I don't. Thought I did.
Maestro, hermano, que buen papel del Caesar en la serie Unsolved de Tupac y Biggie in Netflix.
Oh yeah, I was on Tupac and Biggie on Netflix. I heard that part. Thank you.
Gracias.
De nada. Oh man. Wait, did you hear this nigga with our post-game show? This nigga just said post-game show. You can hear the TV, right?
Is that what no, I can't.
Wait, you can't hear the TV?
I can't hear what they're saying on the news right now. No. I did before, but I couldn't now. I can't now.
Wait. That's what I thought you could hear it.
Now, what I can do is I can like pull it up myself.
No, but that ruins half the thing. You're supposed to be able to hear this. Let me see.
Yeah. Have you? The way it was set up, I could hear it before.
You can hear that at all, huh?
No. Is it the echo? Why it's echoed? Because you mute 1 and 2?
How about this? Hold on, let me try this. I'm gonna try one other thing, and then see if this works.
Maestro, brother, what a good role as Little Caesar, Little C's in the series. Were you Little C's?
Yeah, I was Little C's.
I met Little C's at the Lovers and Friends. That is I love him. And it's so nice that my best friend played him, because Little C's really, like, he really embraced me Like when he was at the Lovers and Friends.
Can you hear that?
Race on July
Very quickly.
21st. Of
You
course,
can?
that decision
Yeah.
followed his debate
Okay.
against President
You're doing
Donald
it like
Trump in
this.
June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's
There
debate.
we go.
90 minutes with
We
2
did it.
commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to
No
answer
topics or
and
questions
this
were
is the
shared
clock.
with the
That's
campaign
what they'll be
cap.
seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals.
Yeah, they got
and 1 minute
something.
for follow-ups,
you're
clarifications,
not
or
asking me that.
responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution
wonder-
Center. This is
yeah,
an
still
intimate
can't hear it on
setting for
TikTok.
2
Now I
candidates
wonder if
who have never met.
President
hate
Trump
that.
won
No
the
audience.
coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing
it's so
statement
whack,
of the
right?
evening.
Yeah,
Vice
that's
President
bad.
Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Wait, Kamala Harris is the vice president now? Oh wait, no, I meant president. My bad. I confused because I forgot
Kamala
that Joe
Harris.
Biden was the
It's a good
president.
debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Nice to
Welcome
see
to
you.
you
Have
both.
fun.
It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We
We're
are
in the
looking forward to
fucking
a
game.
spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
I don't think I am.
So I was raised as a middle class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many
Getting
people.
through these notes, ain't
We
she,
know
boy?
that young families
I'm
need
Nick.
support
Nigga, I'm writing
to
my
raise
notes
their
down
children,
too. I'm
and
taking
I
notes.
intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for
By
their
a
children.
crib.
My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy.
So we can
My
get
opponent, on the other
$50,000
hand,
for
his
surrounded
plan
by
is
idiots.
to do what he has done before,
Well, that's what we need.
which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
I don't like that.
Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle class people
You on
paying
TikTok now?
for tax cuts for billionaires.
President
Okay,
Trump,
now-
I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, go
First of all,
join
I
it
have
so I
no
can add it.
sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now
Black
by
jobs.
African Americans and
Ah,
Hispanics.
he said it. I
African
tell you.
Americans,
Unions are going to
though.
be affected very soon.
What happened to
And you
black
see what's
jobs?
happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're
I was
taking
gonna
over
bring that up.
buildings. They're going in violently.
They're
These are
taking
the
over
people
the town.
They
that
said there's
she
a lot of Haitians in
Biden
Ohio.
let
like there's
into
a
our
Haitian or
country,
two.
and they're destroying our country.
Yeah.
They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of
sent a request.
criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate.
Are we
but,
on Instagram
I would
Live?
like to let Vice President Harris respond on the
No.
economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what
Shouldn't we
Donald
be on
Trump
Instagram
left
Live?
us.
No.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great
Oh,
Depression.
yeah.
Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was
I
a
don't
group
want
of
to
people
know.
that got
I don't want
together.
no
They
shit
came up with
about
some
that.
ideas. I guess some good,
I
some
want to stay
bad.
ignorant.
But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought
Yo, I
possible.
like it.
And
Trump
people
is
give me
on
credit for
policy
rebuilding
time
the
right now.
military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit.
Bounce
But
back.
I was the one
Bounce
that
back.
created them. They know
You
it,
sound
and
like
so does
Juvenile.
everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
Bounce back. Bounce
So-
back.
Donald Trump has no plan for
Oh, I
you.
remember that song.
And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. And the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America.
Who are these people?
What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan
Oh, the Wharton
would
School. That's
actually
where he went.
explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year
He's doing a
would
great
invite
job.
a recession.
Thus
You
far.
just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say.
Gio says they can
He
hear
said
the
I went to the
debate.
Wharton School of
Gio
Finance.
said they can hear the
and many of
debate
those
and they can hear
professors,
me,
the
but they
top
can't hear you.
professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country.
Test,
It's gonna
test,
make
test. Can y'all hear me
people
now?
want to be able
This is
to
on
go
TikTok
and
or on
work
what?
and,
He's
create jobs and
commented
create
this
a
on
lot of
TikTok.
good,
Oh.
solid
Yeah, that
money
might-
for
that might
our
just be-
for our country.
That might just be
And just to
dead.
finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences
spot,
that are
run.
just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up.
Take a
The
look
Vice
at it.
President
She
brought up
doesn't have it.
your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of
I'm
time.
not gonna lie.
People can't go out and buy
Inflation's
cereal.
really
or
bad
bacon
right now.
Bro,
or
nigga, I
eggs
just
or
bought some
anything
turkey
else.
meat for $14.
The people
Bro,
of our
and
country
they only
are
gave you 6 strips,
absolutely
right?
dying
Like
with what
6 or
they've
8
done.
strips.
They've
Oh, the meat,
destroyed the
ground
economy. And
Oh,
all
the
you have to
ground
do is
meat?
look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies,
she get so
focusing
much
on
policy?
investing in American-based
great.
technology so
She's
that
doing a
we
very
win
good
the
job.
race
Doing
on
great.
AI and quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support
impressed thus
America's
far.
workforce so that
They
we
had
don't
her
end
on
up having
each coach.
on the short end of the stick
He's killing
in
it.
terms of workers'
learned code.
rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of
Yeah,
all, they
no.
bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years
Let's
ago
go.
and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country.
That is
They're
crazy
criminals.
fact.
Many of these people
Large
coming in
New
are
York
criminals.
State.
And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe
He ain't
v.
got nothing
Wade.
for this.
Last year, you said that
He
you
ain't got
were
nothing for
proud
this.
to be the
Yeah.
most pro-life president in American history. Then
it's
last
his
month,
fault.
you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights.
That's not
In your
true.
home state of Florida, you surprised
great.
many with regard to
All
your
of
6-week
them.
abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion
Yeah, no,
because
you shouldn't.
you've changed your position so many
I'm
times.
not here for women.
Therefore,
I
why
hate
should they
Melania.
trust
Well,
you?
the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job.
Who has abortion
The
in the
governor
9th
before, he said
It's a
the baby will be
technicality.
born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words,
It's a
we'll execute the baby.
Ain't
And
nobody
that's why I
having a
did that,
goddamn
because
abortion
that
in the 9th
predominates,
It's like if
because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that.
It's something.
And her
it's a
vice
real
presidential
technicality.
It's
pick,
life
which I think was a
threatening.
horrible
It's not
pick,
what
by
he's
the way,
saying.
for our country,
No,
because
it's not
he
what
is
he's saying.
really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution
true.
after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion,
That's
because the
what?
baby is born is okay. And that's not okay with me.
Where
Hence
is
the
that? Who
vote.
says
But
that?
what I did
Who
is
said that?
something for
Yeah, I need
52
the
years.
name.
They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade
I need the name of
into
who
the
the fuck
states.
said
and
kill the
through
baby after they're born.
Genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a
Yeah, but
baby
you're taking
after it's
someone's
born.
right.
Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to it.
He said that. He said,
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
Moral, I
And
agree.
one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a
Trump's
pregnancy
getting
to
Biden
term.
right now.
They don't want that. And I pledge to you,
She
when
beating his
Congress
ass.
passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United
Need
States,
something
I
good
will
on this.
proudly
Need something
sign
good on
it
this retort, buddy.
into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor
just
that would be
said he hasn't
monitoring your
read it.
pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American
He's
people
like, I
believe
don't know.
that certain
Don't know what it
freedoms,
is.
But
I
he's
haven't read
also
it.
a
particularly
liar.
the freedom to make decisions
He's
about
lied about
one's
3
own
times
body,
since we've been up here.
should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President
But I
Harris.
mean, you
Well, there
are,
she
the
goes
government
again.
still
It's a
is.
lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little
here's what's
time,
weird.
but for 52
We'll get to
years,
that.
this issue has torn our country apart. And
Come
they've
on, bro,
wanted
get off
it
your
back in the
notes.
states. And I did
You need to
something
be like
that nobody
Jazz,
thought
Trump.
was possible.
You need to be like
The
Jazz.
states are now
Be
voting.
yourself.
What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well, I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total
There it is, like
catastrophe.
Jazz.
The student
Like
loans. And then
Jazz.
her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out
I did
and
see him
said,
on the
we'll do it
beach last
again.
week.
We'll do it a different way. And he
That
went out,
nigga's-
got rejected again
If
by the
that's
Supreme
him.
Court. So all these
Trump be on the
students
golf
got
course, so you can't really say that.
taunted with this
Working
whole
out.
thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with JD. In all fairness, JD, and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women
I just
who
see her
are
in the
working
mirror
one or two
doing this.
jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she
Sitting
needs.
next to strangers.
Barely can afford to do it. And what
You
you
didn't
are
get in the
putting
Uber?
her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very
IVF.
negative decision
I've
on
been a leader.
IVF
I
from the
invented
Alabama courts,
I
I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later
She
voted
do
it
sound
in.
like she about
I've
to
been
cry.
a leader on it.
Thank you,
They
Landon.
know
I didn't
that,
want to
and
say
everybody
it,
else
but she
knows
does
it.
sound like
I
she's
have been a
about to cry.
leader on fertilization IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her
Why-
that
why
question?
don't you
That's
answer
the
the
problem.
question, would you
Because under
veto?
Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor,
What?
former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden
Yeah, I
administration.
heard
This past
they've been
June,
having problems
President
with
Biden
Haitians
imposed
in
tough new
Ohio.
asylum restrictions. We know the
Haitians?
numbers since then have dropped
Yeah, like
significantly.
they're
But
like
my
just
question to you
coming. Like she
tonight is,
brought in
why
like
did the administration wait until 6 months before
100,000
the election to
Haitians or
act?
something.
And would you have done
Sheesh.
anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Yeah, fair.
And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes
That
at a
don't that don't
time
explain
where
11 million
the
people,
people
bro.
of our country actually
15 million
need a
people.
leader
Stop it.
Mm-mm.
who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president
You're
is
right.
someone who would prefer to
We
run on
need
a
somebody
problem
else
instead
for
of
both of
fixing a
y'all.
problem.
I don't
And I'll
want
tell
neither
you
one of
something,
them.
he's
but-
going to
Not
talk
a
about
one of you.
immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of
Bill
Donald
said
Trump's
illegal
rallies,
on
because it's a
fertilization
really
is
interesting
crazy.
thing to
It is.
watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
What are
and
you
it's a
saying,
shame.
Donnie?
As far as
What are you
rallies are
saying?
concerned, as far as
He's just
the
talking.
reason they
He's
go is
rambling.
they like
He's
what
rambling.
they say. They
Jazz.
want to bring our country
He's
back.
Jazz. He's
They want to
trying.
make America great again. It's a very simple phrase. Make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well,
All
I've
this,
seen people on television.
let me just say here, this is
The people on
this is
television
a
say
clear-
my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people are
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city
It was a
manager says
cat.
there's no evidence of that. Vice
Well,
President,
you
heard
Harris,
about
I'll let you
this?
respond to the rest
No,
of
I
what you've
saw it.
You're
The
talking
did?
about
police
extreme.
officer walked up.
Oh of,
Why you?
you know,
What's funny? Their
this
police
is, I
officer
think, one
walked
of the
up. I
reasons
saw police
why
footage.
in this
There was a Haitian
election,
woman
I
eating a
actually
cat
have the
on the front
endorsement
Oh, this
yard.
really
of
happened.
200 Republicans
Oh, wow.
who have formerly worked with
That's crazy.
President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people, not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you.
Also, because it's like,
just to finish, I
once
got
you
more
hit his
votes
ego,
than any
it starts to-
Republican in history by far.
I
In
got more
fact,
votes.
I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Well, we go from cats and dogs to
Yeah,
Venezuela
thanks,
because
Gio.
the
You wanted to
immigrants.
talk about earlier.
No,
so
no,
let's get
because
back
the
to your
immigrants are coming
deportation
from Venezuela because Venezuela's
proposal
having
that
problems.
the
So
vice
they're
president has
immigrating up,
reacted to as
migrating
well.
Right.
President
But
Trump,
then we
you
got
call
from
this
that
the largest
to
domestic deportation
Afghanistan.
operation
Like,
in
we're
the
just
history of our
jumping
country. You say you would
off.
use the National Guard.
We
You
over
say if
here
things
like-
get out of control, you'd have no problem using the
With
U.S.
local
military.
police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher.
Let's go.
Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be
Oh,
going
I'll
door
get
to
'em
door
out
in this
easy.
country?
It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've
They're
taken their
spending all
criminals
the
off the
violence.
street
They're all
and they've given
here.
them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world,
Yeah, the
crime is
innovator-
down
the
all over
interviewer
the
is
world
being
except
gracious.
here. Crime
They're
here
being way
is
more
up and
gracious than
through
they
the
usually are.
roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump,
I
as you
also
know, the
did see a
FBI
news
says
report. There was a
overall
black
violent
guy
crime
that
is
went
actually
and,
coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris, I'll
FBI
give you the-
they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes.
He said, "Yeah, I knew
economic
that was coming.
crimes, Election
that was coming."
interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage,
she
which
knows
I
when to
have a
stop
plan
looking
for,
at him and
address
start
what
looking
we
at the
must do
camera.
to support
At
our
the
small
people.
businesses,
Yeah.
address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
We got to get to
Let's
these
talk
commercial
about
breaks.
extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2020
Gotta
comes.
get this
Which
ad
delivered.
The
money.
United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly
When has he said
expressed
that?
disdain
I
for
don't
members
see
of
him
our
not
military.
saying that.
Understand
Doesn't seem
what
like
it would
something
mean
he
if
wouldn't
Donald
say.
Trump
Even
were
Like,
back
said,
in the
he said
White
he
House
cut it for
with
Hillary,
no
but he didn't. He didn't
guardrails.
think it would look
Because
good.
certainly we know now the court won't stop him.
I
We
mean,
know
I think
J.D.
he's-
Vance is
either
not going
way,
to stop him. It's up
It's
to the
happened
American
to
people.
him. So
Vice
it's kind of
Stop
President
like,
him.
Harris, thank you. Lindsay,
you're saying
Vice
your
President
playbook.
Harris, in your last run for president,
we gotta
This is the
continue
one
here.
that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me.
Damn.
They talk about
He stopped.
democracy.
He
I'm a
said,
threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake
Trump,
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay,
Vice President Harris, in your
Hmm.
last run for president, you said you wanted
that
to
was a
ban
good time to pull
fracking.
it out.
Now you
good
don't.
time.
You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
Great question.
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made
Wait,
that
what?
very clear in 2020.
Okay.
I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil.
Yeah.
We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking
that
mother
already.
Here we go.
who
You said that
worked and
already.
saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager.
So where's the black?
The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work, that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather.
What?
And my focus then on protecting women and children
I-
from violent
I
crime
don't
is
like her
based on a value
examples.
that is deeply grounded
Like,
in the
huh?
importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have
Protect
not changed. And
scams.
what is important
She
is that
is
there is
ducking
a
the
president
immigration
who
talk.
actually
Yeah, talk
brings
about the immigration
values
shit.
and a perspective
Yeah.
that is
Well,
about
what
lifting
happened?
people up
What about the dogs
and not beating people
being eaten,
down
Kamala?
and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the
The
strength is not in beating people
motherfucker.
down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to
The
be
fucking
that
leader.
president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of all,
response?
I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many
Tiny
billions
fraction.
of dollars, many, many billions.
Many
And
billions.
when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever.
I mean,
She
I
gave
think
all
I
that
like.
stuff up
He fucked that
very
up. He meant
wrongly,
she's been
very
for that
horribly,
forever.
and everybody's laughing at it. Okay, they're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now.
She's not even
Come on,
talking.
please. Does that sound familiar?
Let's
She
go. He used her
Oh well, no,
line
she
against
is saying she is
Minnesota,
talking. Her mic
She
is off,
wanted to
so we
let
can't hear her.
criminals that
Oh,
killed
okay.
people, that burned down many
Wow!
He
Took
used
her
her
shit!
line.
his money to get them out of jail. She did
He
things
took
that
her
nobody
shit,
would
so she
ever
can't
think
use
of.
it now.
Now she wants to
She
do
can't use it now.
transgender
He's
operations
so
on
angry.
illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this.
I'm
She wants to
talking now.
confiscate your guns, and she will
Sound
never allow
familiar?
fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important, in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400,
President Trump.
500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Stop saying we have
Lindsay,
a lot of
thank you.
issues
We
to
have
get
an
to. Just
election
say
in
straight
just
up.
56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of
Letting them
power,
go.
which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You
I
just
knew
said
nothing.
a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace.
No,
But
she
we
should have
didn't
got
do
shot. I
this
saw
group
the
of
shooting.
people
He
that
was
have been
trying to
treated so
climb
badly.
He was trying
I
to
ask,
go in
what
through a
about all
door,
the
and that
people
nigga
that are
said,
pouring into our
I
country
said,
and killing
okay.
people?
And there was
that
like
she
40
allowed
other
to pour
people
in? She
behind
was the
her.
border czar.
Yeah,
Remember
she
that.
deserves to get popped.
She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet." That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David. all over the world.
Isn't that what
And
America's
crime
always
rates are
been,
down
though?
all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
Yeah,
are
but
those,
not as
David,
many
when are
illegally.
those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were
Maybe
watching
you might
another
ask
political
that.
election.
You might
Very
ask her
simple
that question.
as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
No.
Yes.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital,
A violent mob.
to desecrate
He didn't
our
do that.
nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
How
And
many?
understand,
No one
the
even brought guns.
former president has been
Like, let's just be
indicted and
real.
impeached
It's America.
for
No
exactly
one
that
brought
reason.
guns.
But this is not an
These kinds of
isolated
people,
situation.
right-wing
Let's
people.
remember
And
Charlottesville,
Let's not.
where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches,
And also,
spewing
this is
anti-Semitic
also
hate.
inaccurate what she's about to
And
say.
what
'cause
did
I've seen the
the
full clip.
president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember,
He also
that
did say
when it came
condemn
to
the
the
Nazis
Proud
to the
Boys,
full
a
extent of the
militia,
law. He said that in the
the
same
president
speech.
said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of
He
our
said, I thought I
democracy
saw
because
Indiana
you don't
Jones
like
there.
the
Yeah.
outcome. And be clear,
What is that?
on that
Somebody
point,
said, I thought I saw
Donald Trump, the
Indiana Jones
candidate,
there.
has said in this
Everybody was
election
there.
there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this
He
election
did
is
say
not
that.
to his liking.
You did say that.
Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back.
To
Let's
what?
chart a course
There'll be a blood
for the
bath.
future
Oh, yeah,
and
he did
not
say
go
bloodbath, yeah.
backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say,
Get
come
him
on,
out of
come on
bed.
down to the office. Let's sign a
4
bill.
o'clock in the
If he
afternoon.
signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people,
I wanna-
unlike J6.
we talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on
J6?
this next issue to both of you because it really
January
brings
January
this
6th. I
into
know,
focus
but
truth,
J6?
in these times.
That's
that
what they
we're
call
living in. Mr. President, for 3.5
Really?
years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in
Where did I say
2020?
that?
Acknowledge that at all.
I
I
don't
said that
remember saying that.
sarcastically. You
But
know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about it. An election is fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't
They
detect the
don't know what
sarcasm, lost by
country
a
they're
whisker. We
in.
didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge
Republican,
looked at it.
and said there
They
was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have
She
a
was waiting to
president
use
of
that
the
one.
United States
Waiting to
Fired
use
by
Who-
that.
everyone. You're fired.
attempts, as he
fired.
did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as vice president of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply
bring up Joe Biden.
troubling.
Bring
and the
up Joe
American
Biden
people
always being
deserve
confused.
better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person.
He's a strong man.
Prime Minister of Hungary.
Ah,
They said, why
strong
is the
man.
whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country. He ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand
hates
if I'm
her.
okay
He
with
can't
it
stand
because
her.
Your time
I
is up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans.
Israel
among them.
has the right
Vice
to
President
defend
Harris, in
itself. That's what
December,
she's
you
going to say.
said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages
They've
remain.
been sitting at that
Just last week,
40,000
Prime
number
Minister
for a
Benjamin
long time.
Netanyahu
It's
said
way
there's
more than
not
that.
a deal in the making.
They've been sitting at that
President
number
Biden
for a
has not
long
been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert.
Wait,
Women were
what?
horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many
Who's funding her campaign?
innocent Palestinians have been killed.
So, you know.
Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately.
Yeah, but you have
and
no
the
plan
way
for
it
that.
will
She
end
said
is
it
we
must
need a
win
ceasefire deal, and we need the
immediately.
hostages out. And so we will
Bro, y'all
continue
are
to
killing
work
the
around the clock
hostages.
on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a
Yeah, no, that
two-state
was
solution.
this.
And in
I don't
that
like that.
solution, there
Well,
must
I
be
mean,
security for
you
the
know what team
Israeli
she's
people
on.
and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the
No,
one
you
thing
don't
I
care
will
about the
assure you
Palestinians.
always,
Fuck
She
you.
doesn't.
I will always
Fuck
give
her.
Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state
Oh,
solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians
Don't put
have
them there.
security,
Give them more space.
self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
They didn't have that before.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror, and they are spheres of terror, horrible terror.
He just
They had
said
no
that
money.
and was like, that
It was a
sounds
big
good.
story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. this would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended.
How,
If I'm
nigga?
president-elect, I'll get it
How, bro?
done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I
My
have
husband's
my
Jewish.
entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known
None of
he
this stuff is,
exchanged
like, it's
love
all
letters
just
with Kim Jong-un,
monkeys throwing
and
shit.
it is absolutely
All
well
of it.
known
All
that
of it.
these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military
he does
leaders who
that
you have
lean,
worked with
he's
have
getting in
told
his
me
bag.
you are
No,
a
when he does-
disgrace.
He's-
That is
He
why
loading up.
we
He
understand
loading
that
up.
we have to have a president who
I
is not
actually-
consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think
did.
he meant it because what he's
Did
gotten
he?
away with
Yes.
is
He
absolutely
said her laugh
incredible.
is
It wouldn't have
so-
happened
so
with me.
Something.
The
He was
leaders
kinda
of other
smirking, like,
countries think that they're weak
He
and
did?
incompetent,
Yes,
and they
he did.
are.
Oh no,
They're
I'm scared.
grossly incompetent. And I
Putin
just
did.
ask one
He really
question.
did. That is a
Why
fact.
does
Because
Biden
Putin's
go
like,
in
I
and
dare
kill
her
the
to come have a
Keystone
meeting with
Pipeline
me.
and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe?
You said that
Because
already.
they're
bro.
weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back
saying
with
that.
much
Just tell
more
him
of
to
this
shut up.
historic ABC News
Biden
presidential
gets paid
debate
a
from the
lot of
National
money.
Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
All right, so I
Man.
did hear they were letting a lot of Haitians in, and I heard like in Ohio there was like a huge Haitian problem because like the Haitians are driving weird, like they don't drive right. So like they're driving.
They don't
and
drive right.
I'm hearing they're like driving crazy and hitting people with their cars. They're like living in like and like I saw someone go speak at Congress or go speak at their courthouse about the issue. And they're like, yeah, all these Haitian people are coming here and they're like living like they're in Haiti, but they're treating it like Haiti, but it's not Haiti. Like they're living in my front yard and like they're eating cats and they're doing this and they're yelling at me and I can't say anything to them because I'm terrified. And it's like
That's
and
crazy.
like I saw video footage of a cop walking up to a woman sitting down eating a cat, and everybody was like, "Were you?" And there were people standing around, and he was like, "Was she eating this cat?" And it was like, "Yeah, she was eating that cat." Like it was a bunch of niggas. It was like, yes,
Her
and then
ass weird, bro.
yeah, exactly. And then I saw a dude, a regular nigga, who just went to the courthouse and was talking, and he was like, "Bro, y'all got to do something about." He was like, "Bruh, this shit crazy, bro. Y'all got to do something about these Haitians, bro. I don't know, like." I don't want to like be against them or nothing, but like this shit is a problem, bro.
That's crazy. That's crazy that we're here.
Because I think she let 70,000 Haitians in, and then she upped it to 100,000.
For what?
Maybe my numbers are wrong. Maybe she let.
Well, I'm
7,000,
just wondering, like
10,000.
not even on no hate, just for what? Like, are
I
you?
mean, Haiti's going through a lot. Haiti, they did have.
Have you been to downtown Los Angeles?
Oh my God, it's awful.
That's going through a lot too. I think
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
the world's going through a lot, and I think once again you can't be helped, nigga. I can't send you money if I'm in debt, right? So what we doing over here?
So
What's
you're
the plan
trying.
here?
So you're saying, but like I'm over here with the mindset of like we as America, we have always helped. We have always,
Yeah, but
we've
we also
always,
we filtered who we were helping though too.
yeah. But you know, like
You can't help everybody. And
yeah,
that's a
but
fact.
like
That's a life fact. That's a life fact. You can't help everybody. And it's not your job to help everybody.
I understand and I
Our,
agree, and I
our
think you should be
relationship
very
should be
selective.
beneficial.
I
The-
think you should be selective of the people that you do let in. I do agree.
Exactly.
But
And people who are on the ball, who come from other countries, who
but you
we're
have
doing
to,
their thing over there.
but you have to play that right, because like if you're not, if you they won't help anybody from a black country if they could. Like if they could, like you can't just be like be selective, because if you be too selective, they're like no niggas.
Well, I mean, okay, that's just called being able to pass the test. Good luck. And I feel like that test, as I always say, it's probably extremely, for anybody who's coming from another country, it's probably extremely difficult. Like
I'm fine.
extremely. You
I'm
know what I
fine
mean?
with you have to pass the test. I'm fine with like you do have to pass the test and everything. Like
Yeah, and
like,
obviously they probably let fewer of you know, minorities who are brown, or people who come from other countries who are brown or black. They probably let in less legally than they probably do others. For sure. I could imagine. I don't have numbers for this, but I can imagine.
yeah.
But other than that, though, it's kind of like, nah, man, you got to filter through. It's just like letting niggas in your house. You don't just let anybody in your house.
Because there are good people from Haiti. I remember there's a guy named Jacques Pop, who went to Morehouse with. He was from the Pop family, but I think his family's like rich or something like that. Like so it's like I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's once again, it's not saying all Haitians are, but it's the fact of you are coming from. Once again, who said this? There was somebody, I heard them say this, and I was like, oh, that's very smart. Once you just start letting people in, you don't have a country. That's not a country when you just let anyone in. That's not a country. It's the same as if you have a club in Hollywood and you let anybody in, then it's no longer a good club because you let anyone in. Now, you could be a little too selective. You could be all these things, but realistically, you have to have some kind of standard. If you don't have some kind of standard, same as letting niggas in your house, what happens? Shit starts going missing.
And you know what? That was a great example, because I don't let nobody in my motherfucking house.
Right.
I don't want you here. Like
and there's a whole nother vetting process, and just a life vetting process that they got to go through. Like,
all right, we back.
Where's this at?
Years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest
only got
to
an
do
hour
so,
left.
arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break
24
tonight.
hours.
How exactly would you do
before I
that?
even get
And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by
That's
the
the
millions.
presidential
It's
answer.
the millions.
Yeah,
It's
no.
so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275
She's
billion.
smiling.
They're into
smiling
100
at
to
him. This is so weird.
150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president. Okay, they respect me. They don't respect
your president. I'm your president.
Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that
Don't laugh because we are close to World War
we
III.
are.
He's a president.
And just
No,
to
I'm
clarify-
talking about
Oh,
Kamala
Kamala,
Harris.
yeah.
I'm like, don't you
We don't
dare
even
laugh.
know. Is he
Because
a
this
president?
is something
Or
I've
we
been
have a
very
president
concerned
Mr.
about.
that
President,
doesn't know he's alive.
your time is up. Just to
Doesn't
clarify
know
the
he's
question,
alive.
do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this
To
war
end the
finished
war
and
over.
just
Yes,
get it
don't
done.
answer that. Don't
Negotiate
answer
a
that.
deal, because we have to stop
said-
all of these human lives from being
Like you said,
destroyed.
I
just
want to
get
take
it
this
done.
to Vice
Whatever
President Harris. I
done
want to
is,
get your
just get it
thoughts
done.
on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as commander-in-chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin? And would it be any different from what we're seeing from
I
President
would
Biden?
walk in there.
Well, first of
would
all,
tell-
it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
There's a bunch of
I believe
AKAs
the
who just
reason
went,
that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24
We're
hours is
only
because he
running
would just
against
give it
her
up.
by technicality,
And
though.
that's
Like,
not who
it's
we
not
are as
because,
Americans.
like,
Let's understand what
because
you
happened.
he's
earned
good.
it.
I
Yeah,
actually
like, you didn't
met with
earn this shit.
Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most
How all
important
countries were
international
built.
rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together
she's saying
to
it's some
support
Romanians.
Ukraine in its righteous defense.
They don't want to
And
hear shit from
because
no
of
black
our
person
support,
or
because
brown
of
person
the
or Indian or
air
nothing.
defense, the
None of that.
ammunition, the
Romania?
artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And
I don't
understand
care.
what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe,
Can she
starting
explain-
with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan
That's
came
it?
up in the
That's
last
all we're going
hour.
to get about a
I
pressing
wanted her to
issue?
respond to something you said earlier, and
We're done.
please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please.
Stop talking to me.
He would have been
Yeah.
sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right
That's
now.
why she wanted the
But
mics
eventually,
unmuted.
you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days
They
later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have
Stupid.
never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later.
Vice
And
President-
that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse
Ask
than
her if it's
Biden.
true.
In my
Ask
opinion,
her
I
if
think
that's
he's the
true.
worst president
Yeah,
in the
just ask
history
her,
of
is
our
that
country.
true?
She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She
Nah,
is a
maybe Pence.
horrible
She close, though.
negotiator.
It's really
They
bad.
sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You
Who's
said she went to
Clinton's
vice
negotiate
president?
with Vladimir
Stay
Putin.
on
Vice
that.
President Harris,
Ask
have you ever met Vladimir Putin?
Nah.
Can you
Okay,
clarify
okay,
tonight?
cool.
Yet again,
Yeah,
I
he's
said
doing
at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one.
This fella.
When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength,
as a dictator
understanding
itself.
that the
America
alliances
is a
we have
dictator
around the
itself.
world
Yeah.
are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not
Look out for our
favor
friends.
enemies because you adore
That's what
strongmen
we did in
instead of
Iraq,
caring
Afghanistan,
about democracy. And
Vietnam.
that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander in chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility
She gonna win some votes
in
off this
terms
stuff.
of ensuring
Yeah.
that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal
She
flattery.
sound like the network.
You talked
she
about
on.
Ukraine and Vladimir
You sound
Putin.
like
I do
Disney.
want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you.
Great
I want
job.
to turn to
Beautiful
Afghanistan.
job.
It came
Best
up in the
job.
first hour of the debate,
job
and we
ever-
witnessed a
of any
poignant
job
moment today
anyone's
on
ever
Capitol Hill
done.
honoring the
Everyone's ever
soldiers
done.
who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the
Why
Vice
don't we
President,
ask about the
do you
shooting
believe
that
you bear
just
any
happened 2 days
responsibility
ago?
in the way that
Why don't we ask
withdrawal
about
played
things
out?
that are like
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result,
It was
America's
sloppy.
taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of
300
today,
million
there
a
is not
day.
one
Right.
member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any
I mean,
war
Elon
zone
Musk could
around
keep a
the
war
world the
going
first
for a
time
month.
this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was
$1
president,
$1 a day?
negotiated
And we
one
can't
of the
get
weakest
reparations?
deals you can imagine. He calls
Here you
himself
go.
a deal
Nigga,
maker.
they ain't got money
Even
for
his
that.
national security advisor said it was a weak,
gotta go to
terrible
Bob's.
deal. And here's how it went down.
We gotta help the
He
environment.
bypassed
They got money
the
for that.
Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban.
They got
the
it back.
negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this,
But now they're all free
And
running around.
the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we
I
honor
don't give a
the
fuck about it.
importance of
What?
American diplomacy.
Well,
where
also
we
the Taliban
invite
got it
and
back, so I don't
receive
understand what y'all are talking
respected
about.
world
And that happened under
leaders.
Biden. So
And this former president, as president, invited them
This
to
motherfucker.
Camp
That's what she was
David
about to say.
because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the president of the United States to be commander in chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we
He's
must do
always
to
showing love
uphold
to the
the
military, though.
strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations
thank
with the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the
Taliban.
killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul,
Abdul.
don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18
That was some
months,
gangster shit.
we
though.
had
That's some
I was-
nobody
gangster
killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike
Figure that out,
Pompeo. It
Abdul.
was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new,
Military
beautiful
equipment.
military equipment behind. And just to finish,
They just had a
They-
parade.
blew it. The
With our
agreement said
equipment.
you have to do this,
They had a parade.
and they
With
didn't
our
do it.
equipment
They didn't do it. The agreement was
The 4th of July.
was
or something like that?
terminated by us because they
Or no, or
didn't
some-
do
one
what
of
they
their
were
holidays.
supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our
Yeah, but-
country.
yeah.
And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of
Here
Vice
we
President
go.
Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black." I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I don't
asking-
know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts?
So you would trans
I
right.
think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a
That's why he said it like that.
tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was a
Liberal.
land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent
She free balling right now.
property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad
He did do
calling
that.
for their execution. This is the same individual
He absolutely did do
who
that.
spread
Put his
birther
mouth
lies
on that
about
one.
the first
Yep.
Black
Can't say
president of
shit
the
about
United
that.
States.
He did.
And I think the American people
Alex Jones himself.
want better than that.
Yeah.
Want
yeah,
better
I
than
do.
this.
I do. I do want better than
Someone who understands as I do, I travel our country.
that. Good
And
point.
no
Scott.
one on this stage is
see
better
in
than
each
that. That's what
other
I'm saying.
a
Neither
friend.
one of
we
but
see
he-
in
you
each
know,
other a
he is
neighbor.
racist.
We don't want
He
a
does
leader
say
who
shit.
is constantly trying to
He's
have
also 80.
Americans point their fingers at each other.
I don't give a fuck.
I meet with people all
80
the
years olds
time
are crazy.
who tell me,
Yeah.
can we
That's my
please
point. That's
just
the
have
point I'm making.
discourse
Nigga 80.
about
Like,
how we're going to invest in the
Yeah, you can't be
aspirations
my
and the
fucking
ambitions
president,
and
you
the
crazy
dreams of
ass
the
80-year-old. Like the fuck? No.
knowing that
your current
regardless
president is a
of
crazy
people's
ass
color
80-year-old.
or the
83-year-old.
language their grandmother speaks, we all
He
have
racist
the same
too.
dreams and aspirations.
That's
and
what
more
I'm
importantly,
saying.
to invest in those, not in
And the
hate
one
and division.
before, and the
Vice
one
President Harris,
before,
thank
no,
you.
actually
Lindsay?
not Obama.
President Trump,
No,
this
yeah,
is
I was
now
like,
your
what?
third time.
The one before him, no.
This
And
is
the
the
one
most
before him.
divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad,
Mr.
Uh,
and she
President,
can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I
Lindsay?
want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible,
This is
one
her
who
moment.
brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of
Don't
always
laugh.
disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans.
Like, I got
I have
plans
a
a week
plan
ago, 3 days
to
ago,
give
nigga. So
startup
I want to talk
businesses
about it now.
$50,000 tax deduction to pursue
No
their
tax on
ambitions,
shit.
their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice
and
President
move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
I
turn
Trump,
never
we
to
saw
have to
their
policy.
height
move on.
difference.
President Trump,
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
Mr.
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
No,
president
fuck,
has said.
fuck the
sorry.
moderators. Go crazy.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
gonna
need to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President.
time to
Argue.
what he has
Shut
said
up,
multiple
This
bitch.
is
times.
now your
Shut up,
third time
nigga.
running for
Let
president.
them
You are
argue.
back
Let them
to
fuck.
repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep
You have
Obamacare,
failed
quote,
to accomplish
unless we
that.
can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan? And can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on
Lousy.
things, we're going to do it and we're going to
The
replace it.
niggas are
But
trash.
remember this, I inherited
Indian
Obamacare
nigga.
because Democrats
Trash.
wouldn't
Trash.
change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare.
See,
But
he
the
needs to say
Democrats
shit
came
like,
up, they wouldn't vote
just
for
the
it.
same way she
I
can't
had
get
a
that through
choice to make when
Congress.
I
I
was
couldn't get that
president.
through Congress.
Do I save it and make it as good as it can be? Never going to be great. Or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told
Oh
my
my
people, the
God,
top
Donald
people, and they're
Trump
very
pulled
good
up to
people.
the
I have a lot of
Space
good
House
people in that
to
administration.
support Donald
We read
Trump
about the
during
bad
the
ones. We
debate.
had some real bad ones
Kanye
too,
West
and so
is
do
at the
they. They have
Space
really
House.
bad ones. The
Kanye
difference is they
West?
don't get rid of them.
He's
But
at
let me
the
just
Space House,
explain.
like Faze
I had a
Rugs and all of
choice to
them.
make.
Yeah.
Do I
Supporting
save it
Donald
and
Trump.
make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But
That's
it's still never going
crazy.
to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at
I gotta
different
say,
plans.
why
If
you
we can
couldn't just
come
go
up
to
with
like
a plan that's going to
Costnet though,
cost
bro?
our people, our
Because Constant's
population,
not gonna. First
less
of all,
money and be
well,
better health care than
you remember what
Obamacare,
happened between
then
That
I
is
would
true.
Kanye and
absolutely do
Castanet.
it. But until then, I'd run it as good
Oh,
as it
that
can
did
be
happen.
run.
I forgot
So
about that.
just a yes or
Kanye
no,
was
you
like,
still do
bro, the
not have a
plants are
plan.
too big.
I
And
have
Kanye was like,
concepts of a
fuck you.
plan.
You didn't help me
I'm
when
not
they was trying to
president
take
right
my
now.
babies.
But
And he
if
was like,
we come up with something, I would only
The plants
change
are
it if
too
we
big,
come up
bro.
with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates
Nigga,
to the
that's not
Affordable
Kanye
Care
West,
Act,
they lied.
understand, just look at the history to
It's
know
Kanye
where people
East.
stand.
It's Kanye
When
East.
Donald Trump was
What the
president,
fuck is that?
60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being,
You see how much taller he
you
is
don't
than her?
like
That's
him, you
crazy.
said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had
I mean,
asthma,
that's true.
if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a
It was fucked up.
grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been
Oh,
vice
you
president,
already
and
got
we
you
over the
already
last
got that.
4
We
years have
can't
strengthened
help
the
you.
Affordable
They
Care
don't
Act.
do that no
We
more.
have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on
Do
behalf
they?
of you, the
I feel like
American
they still
people.
do that.
Donald Trump said he was
I'm
going to
not
allow
gonna give you
Medicare to
health
negotiate
insurance and you've had a
drug prices.
previous
He never did. We did.
bout with cancer.
And now we have
No.
capped the cost of insulin at $35 a
But you
month.
should.
Since I've been vice president, we have capped the
But
cost
they're
of
not
prescription
going to.
medication
I'll
for
have to
seniors
pay.
at $2,000
It's like
a year.
insuring a
And
bad
when I
driver.
Well,
am
I know that
president,
if
we
Donald
will do
Trump
that
gets
for
in,
all
it'll
people,
get a lot worse.
understanding that the value I bring to this
Then what it
is
is?
that
Yeah.
access to
Fair.
health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan
Someone
has
said,
to
where the
be
fuck did her
to
accent
strengthen the
go?
Affordable Care Act, not
You
get
better
rid of
thank.
it,
Vice
pass it
President
pro
Harris,
law
thank
in
you.
terms
You're
of where
welcome.
Donald Trump stands
You
on
better
that.
I
thank.
want to move to an
You're
issue that's
welcome.
important
You better
for a lot
Made a
of
mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years, but it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money, but she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to give.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you.
Oh,
We have
it's
another
6
issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we
They
have
put up
to have
these
clean air
windmills.
and
They
clean
look
water.
ugly and
Vice
they
President
give you
Harris, you
cancer.
call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had
Trump
said
don't
that
write
climate
shit
change
down.
is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who
It
now
was
is
100.
either being
It was
denied home
110
insurance or it's being
degrees in
jacked
Los
up.
Angeles
You ask
yesterday.
anybody
That
who
shit is
has
wild.
been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion
Yeah,
in
she's
a
nowhere
clean
near as
energy
entertaining
economy,
as Joe
while we
Biden
have
was.
also increased
'Cause Joe
domestic
was
gas
falling
production
asleep.
to historic
No,
levels.
Joe couldn't
We
remember
have
shit.
created over
Joe,
800,000 new
Joe was like,
factories.
"Where's my,
While vice
where's my
president,
wife?
we
Where's
have
my wife?
invested in clean energy
Not that
to the
wife."
point that we are opening
Help me
up
down the stairs.
factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy
like, "Hey, just
economy
said my name."
includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and
Yeah, but
opening
Trump's all
up
about
auto
that.
plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put
China
tariffs
do
on
got
those
a new
cars so
cool,
they can't
cheap
come
car.
into our country, because they
That
will
shit is
kill
old.
the United Auto Workers
Like
and any
19,000,
auto
not
worker,
even.
whether it's in
It was like
Detroit
19,
or
but-
South
But
Carolina
then
or any
they
other
doubled
place.
it because
What
of
they've
tariffs or
done to
taxes. So
business
now it's
and
40 if
manufacturing
you want
in
to
this
buy it
country
here.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
horrible. We have nothing because
the
they
bird, the
refuse.
bird or
You know,
something, some
Biden
weird.
doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it between him and his son. They get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing
you.
statements
Thank
from
you.
both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
They sure are arguing, ain't they?
Jesus Christ. How many
The
viewers do we
ABC
have on
News
YouTube?
Presidential
Let's see.
debate will continue after this.
Baywatch is a fantasy. Baywatch was sexy. Baywatch was the number.
Baywatch.
Hey, after we get off of this, can we maybe like watch the trailer to my movie that's coming out on the 27th?
Oh, yeah.
That
That is exactly what we'll do. Sir.
Thank you, sir.
What was I gonna tell you about? I was gonna tell you there was something that they said that I was like,
What?
yeah, I don't know. It's doesn't
I
have
don't
that
like
juice.
anybody, honestly. Like
Yeah.
like I've said before, and what I've been holding on to, I've felt like I've been being held hostage for the past 8 years of my life.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the presidency. So I hate it here. I don't like it. I want to go. I just want to go to a beautiful place where like
LaMichael wants to live in Colombia.
I want to go to a beautiful place where I'm the immigrant, you know? Like I would
They're giving me the free stuff.
I get tax breaks. Yes.
You want me to move here, don't you?
Oh, you said you'll give me free housing?
Yeah, but like that's the other thing. It's like there's places that need people. Like Japan needs people. Like send some of them niggas over there.
Well, Japan, they like, hey, impregnate our women. Come on over. Aren't they doing like a thing where they're trying to get?
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually paying, but I heard that.
Aren't they encouraging?
No, when I was out there, so what they did was they actually have the government created a dating app like Tinder or something like that, so that people can start talking to one another. But the crazy part is the women are so modest that their profile picture will be like the back of their head.
What do you
Like,
mean the women?
They don't want to show themselves like I'm showing off the goods. They have too much, I guess, respect for themselves, or that's how they look at it.
What you want? I can't imagine anything a future
No,
together with the back of your head. I just
it's kind of like a hood job though, right? Like I'm saying, in a sense, like you're taking away certain things.
All I know is I've seen a couple. Remember we talked about my fetish?
Oh yeah,
I've seen a couple.
And you're like, oh.
I was like, oh, that's why they're hiding them. You can't look at my bitch because they are bad under the MC jobs. A couple, I was like,
don't you look at that hair?
Them giddies be sitting, boy. Like it's crazy.
But I think that's a part of the whole, like, yeah, over there, they're just way more, like I'm not putting myself out there like that. And it's not normal. So it's kind of like, you meet people out. That's what you do. You're not on an app like, yeah.
No, I guess, maybe I'll go to Japan,
It's a hell of a place, man.
Have a couple babies there,
And then I could just leave.
And then just leave.
It's so far away.
I'm helping the population. This is what you asked of me.
This would be the wrong time to do it. She just come across the border, just walk on in and be like, nigga, I'm here.
They just let me in and they gave me a house and a bunch of money. So now you have to give me money too. Give me my check. And now I'm Tyrese.
Man,
in jail. Tyrese is in jail because she wanted $73,000. I then watched
now
the
he has
video.
to come up with $73,000 in 48 hours, but apparently she wanted $20,000 at first. Then it went up to 40.
Yeah, but then he did but then remember the video, $13,000 a month. What more do you want from me? And then I was like, well, she wants 60,000 more from you. Specifically.
And that was that somebody else or the same woman?
It's his ex-wife. Well, does he have two ex-wives? Well, first of all, why do you keep on getting married, Tyrese?
Bro, Tyrese, you need to
Again,
David,
it's not going to work out.
Ever.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements.
They're always
Vice
going to
President
leave.
Harris, we begin with you.
You're Tyrese.
So I
You're
think you've heard
Tyrese.
tonight
You're fun for a
two
second, but then you're like,
different visions for our country.
I'm fucking
One
with
that is focused
Tyrese.
on the future,
oh,
and the other that is
Tyrese.
focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do.
You don't tell me
believe
what
that
I
the
do.
American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us.
It was nice
and
there.
we can chart a new
I
way
had money.
forward. And a vision of
I
that
didn't have to leave
includes
the
having
house.
a plan,
Huh.
understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes,
Tell me
the
about it.
ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will
maybe you
protect
should
our
get some of them
fundamental rights
tapes
and
and
freedoms,
guns back
including
from
the right of a woman to
Afghanistan.
make decisions about her own body and
No,
not
we
have
can
her
buy more.
government tell her what to do.
Oh, yeah,
I'll tell
we
you,
can
I
buy more.
started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was
Yeah,
an
we
attorney
know.
general,
I don't like
a
you
United
because of
States
that.
senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people.
Willie Brown.
And I'll tell you,
Oh.
as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked
Why
them,
the fuck would you
are
ever
you
ask
okay?
that?
I was able to assume.
And that's the kind of president
I
we
knew who
need
you
right
were.
now.
Yeah.
Someone who
I'm
cares
a prosecutor.
about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol.
Bro, you didn't even stay there.
He didn't even want to be
You
there.
won't do it.
It's not
Because you
more
believe
beautiful
in
than
things that
Mar-a-Lago,
the
but it's
American
beautiful.
people
No,
don't
no.
believe in.
I like the
You
golf.
believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that.
We do need
and
more
within
than two
1
parties,
year, they were
but
back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that
He
is
went
our
out
ABC
hot.
News presidential debate from
In
here
our
in
country.
Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center.
He didn't even say
I'm Lindsay
thank you.
Davis.
And I'm David Muir.
Please
Thank you
say
for
the
watching
same.
here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
Can't say he won it though.
I mean, yeah, he definitely didn't win it.
And we are here live on ABC with our post-debate comments. I'm Martha
Man,
Raddatz.
this
It
shit
was a
is the
lively
post-debate
debate from
show.
the economy to abortion to Afghanistan. They had it all, and it was historic.
Well,
Jesus
that's
Christ.
that.
Yeah.
That's what happened, folks.
You should clip out. You should clip out more of the wiring union that you had. You should clip more of that out. I don't know why. I just started going through your TikTok.
It's
And I was
probably
like,
a good idea. Yeah.
yeah, you should probably clip out more of those moments. Yeah, no, I don't know how I feel, bro.
It was a poor performance from both.
Everybody, like I Kamala doesn't have a plan. What she is saying, it doesn't hurt policies.
Yeah.
No, I was reading something. That wasn't my
right.
words. I was reading someone else's. But no, I don't know, bro. It's kind of like she Trump just comes off erratic and loud. She
Yes.
comes off
Definitely more. I want to say stoic, but that's the wrong word because I don't see strength. But she comes off more. But docile is not the right word either.
no,
It's
she's
somewhere in the
definitely not docile.
She's not
That's
docile
definitely
at
not
all,
docile.
at all.
No.
But
She
it's
doesn't
not
seem
stoic.
believable. She doesn't seem believable. She's a bit annoying. Donald Trump is an asshole. But like she's a bit annoying, but I kind of feel like
She's more snarky.
she's so snarky.
Yeah, that's what it is.
She's so like he'll say something like she'll be like
She'll be like, like she wants to go. Okay.
Yeah. I don't care for either one of them at all, but I do think that I mean it's funny, right? Because like there are so many different. It's so funny because there are so many different aspects to it. Like I do kind of want the border a little bit more secured.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
Just,
I kind of would like a little bit more vetting for our immigrants.
Yeah,
Just a little bit, like let them in. You know what I'm saying?
you don't want
like
you don't want Tinkerbell eaten.
no, I don't like. Come on, ladies, don't eat my dog.
Tinkerbell.
Yeah, no, that's awful.
What?
But it's also like I don't rock with police. And we have police. If you have Trump come in, police is gonna go up. But also you have Kamala in, police gonna go up.
Yeah, police go stealthily go up.
Police low key go up.
Go low
And then
key.
low, you know what I'm saying? Y'all don't know that we just made a new law that the police can beat your ass and nothing will happen. Like it's just like little shit. Like
Yeah.
I don't trust her in that regard, but I do trust that she will do things for small business owners. I believe that she can get that done, and she will get that.
I'm not mad at the small business owners thing. I heard somebody's perspective on the 25,000 for first time homeowners, and one argument to that I kind of was like, oh damn, I didn't think of this. But they were like, yeah, so now people are just it's gonna raise that the price of housing more because now people are gonna be like, all right, bet. Well, now my house just went from 525,000 to
550.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't even think like that.
I didn't think like that either. It was a real estate guy on something I was listening to, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, good point.
Good point, because that is just gonna. But I mean, 25,000 match with first time homeowners. You can, I think, you only have to pay 3% or something like that down on a home, and then there are other incentives and things like that. So it's like I feel like all that together will help. I'm sure there will be adverse effects, just like everything cause has a reaction. So I'm certain there will be adverse effects that we haven't necessarily thought of. But I'm for trying shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I am for trying shit. Now with the real estate shit, that bubble gonna pop eventually. I'm not buying the bubble gonna pop within the next 2 years.
It has to.
Mark
has to.
my fucking words. It has. Maybe I'm being hopeful because I want to buy a house, but it seems ridiculous. No one can buy a home.
Bro, realistically, you can't expect a whole. And I just always use California because I know you can't expect a whole state of people to have $990,000 to buy a home, to buy a mediocre home. Like
I'm not gonna buy a mediocre. I'm not gonna. Like I can get a fly ass house in New Orleans for $350.
And that's my point.
Newly renovated everything, $350.
And think that's even climbing.
That's why I'm like, I need to get in now.
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Because it's gonna constantly go up.
Because at a certain point, this is what's fucked up. It's not okay. You have the New Yorks, the LAs, the Miamis, okay, we get it. They're expensive. They've already hit that mark. But there's so many places across America that the prices of homes are still steadily climbing. So at some point, you're gonna try to move your ass to South Dakota. I'm not saying, say 30 years from now. And it's like, fuck you mean I need $750,000 to buy a house in South Dakota? And the majority of people are just not going to have that. And it's going to be like, oh, wait, so where's the $300,000 cribs? So I can just raise my family and have a bedroom or two. No, those don't exist anymore.
No. That's why I gotta go to a place where those do exist. Because then, like, you can get that house, but then also it's like, do you buy the more expensive house with the first time homeowner?
I think you do if you can, because
so
it's something to grow into, and you can get more money if you ever have to rent it out. You're falling your ass, got to stay somewhere. You can always rent it out.
So
too.
You're saying it's smarter to do a first-time homeowners in California, utilize that 3%, $25,000, and pay $1 million for a property, and then after you learn the ropes and shit, then you can move over then you buy your little house, your other house, your least expensive house. So it's smarter to do like a $800,000 house for your first place.
Yes, and then do that, because at the end of the day, think of it this way: now you're sitting in a home and you're paying on it, or you can move somebody else into it, and then you go.
But see, that's the thing about California: you can't kick people out of your house in California.
That's true too,
and that's where I'm terrified about owning property in California, because it's like you literally have the rights belong to the renter; the rights do not belong to the owner, and I don't want to be in a situation where I can't get someone out of my property.
Right.
No, like you literally have to wait to be like 3-4 months delinquent, and then you can file for eviction, and then the eviction is going to take 5 months. So it's like you're going to be, and then the thing is, California, there's a backup of evictions. So it's
they're not getting to you
in 5 months. They're getting to you in a year.
Yeah. I mean, you got to rent to a family.
So that's
you rent to a family. That nigga's going to work every day.
I'm over here thinking like I might want to start in the state where I can just bring my gun up to the porch and be like, "Hey, get the fuck out!"
Bro, I'm telling you, I'm trying to. Once I figure out whatever that is, I can do remotely. If it's some shit like that, oh brother, I would be set up. Whatever this would be in the middle of nowhere on a large plot of land. I'd have a little runway. Have a runway. Planes could come in.
That's how you find me. That's how you get to me. Only the ones that know.
I got a couple horses. Got some cows and shit. I eat the beef on my property.
Oh, you want to come over? Let me send you the coordinates.
The coordinates.
let me send you the coordinates. Not my address. There is no address here. Let me send you the coordinates.
It's just hop in the golf cart, drive around the property.
365 longitude, 839 latitude, east of the equator. You'll find it easy. It's fine.
Yeah,
come on.
large
it's on the map. Come on, this is better than addresses.
Niggas gonna be like, man, I can't put that in Apple.
Yes, you can actually. That's what's fucked up. You can.
I ain't never did it.
I ain't never did it. Shit.
Degrees and shit, man. I don't be going to his house. It's too hard to find
So-
it. And you're like, nice.
So
Good.
what do you think? What's your take on all this, man?
I think it was a under impressive Trump performance. I think Kamala had a whole lot of good Disney uplifting moments that will be clipped very well. I'm very impressed with her. Like, I'm impressed with her performance because, you know, I feel like she's learned how to whatever she knew how to, because you could tell the shit wasn't coming from hear the question, answer the question. Like, it wasn't that.
No,
But
that was a written. She had a speech.
Yeah.
just like Biden did. Remember, Biden had his speech when we were watching it.
yeah,
He
but
was
how
taking-
do you well, and I guess all these things bled over to every question, right? So it's like you could kind of use one part for any other part, and you just interchange. You have a list of statements. You just remember those list of statements, and then
Mhm.
and like
And
you
it's
said,
like, I can. This fits here, and it doesn't
Yes.
fit. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
there.
and maybe if I don't know what to say, I want to go back to that point when he said this. I got something for that. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Trump in the beginning, I think he came out strong, but then he just kind of once it got too policy driven, and honestly, he got cooked on the.
I don't think he
abortion
really
thing.
came out strong at all. Like, he kind of like he's a broken record to me.
Well, no, in the
Like-
beginning though, it didn't feel so broken record, and like, but I'm talking like the first like 15 minutes, 10,
Yeah.
15 minutes. Then after that, once it started getting to the like I said, he got cooked on the abortion thing, and he knows he got cooked on the abortion thing, and then he started going less policy and more, I'm going for your throat, and that didn't suit him as well because she came across like I said, anybody who's looking at this, if you're just watching and you watch the clips of what she did tonight and you aren't informed, you don't really dig, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, whoa, she's
But see, that's the thing, man. Like, none of them niggas fly, man.
No.
Like, not one of them niggas fly. Obama would never. Like,
No.
Donald Trump he used to be cool. He used to be cool, funny, all that shit. None of them niggas fly.
But you know what's crazy? I'm not gonna lie. After that shooting, he softened up a little bit.
He was like, "Oh, they want to kill me."
Yeah.
He was like, "They want me dead."
Something caught him. Like, he was like, "Oh shit, this is
real.
this
Life. This is all life. Is real. Everything I say has consequences.
consequences." I never thought I'd see these. Like,
Yeah, I never thought I'd see. Bro, he was a fucking not even an inch. He was a centimeter away from being Kennedy. We was all about to see it.
and see it live. But that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, I think he's, you know, he lost.
moving different now.
Yeah, he moving different. He lost a little bit of that spark, a little, and age. You know, age is catching up to him because
Yeah, and he's stressed now, and the stress is even because he's been stressed, but the nigga's stressed now. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, bro, he was probably at that podium like, what's that like up there? He was like,
no,
no.
not gonna go, not going yet.
Oh no. Yeah, we're fucked, bro.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it was a debate. Hopefully, they do another one.
I don't need it.
I don't need it.
I really
don't
don't. They're not gonna give me any policies. They're just gonna fucking.
That's
I
the
don't-
issue too. It's like they kept saying things about one another, and I'm like, y'all could just cook one another if you
Yeah.
just set a policy after that. But like, you did this in this in this
Just
state.
be blunt. What did they do? Just say what they did wrong, where they made the mistake. What's your policy? What policy did you let fall? What I don't care about them.
But it's a
Frankly,
popularity contest. It's like high school. It's
and
like
none of them niggas is fly to me. Like I was saying, I hate both of them niggas. Even the niggas that won the popularity, even the niggas that won not valedictorian or whatever, the yearbook thing,
Yeah.
stuff like that. They even the little nerd kids. The nerds I was still like, you fly though, like we fuck with you, like you still like, you know what I'm saying? I don't fuck with none of them, bro. I hate them.
I hate them.
I actually do. I hate them. I hate the choices I've been given. We need more than two parties. We need more parties. But the thing about it is we have more parties, but everybody's mentality is, oh, well, if you give them the vote, then
you're throwing your vote away.
I really want, because I think it'll start happening when everything's not dire. But I don't think the news is ever going to ease up and not make it dire. Like it's always going to be like when I brought up John McCain and Barack Obama. That wasn't dire.
Right.
That wasn't like, oh, if he wins, it's all over.
But I think now that they've found that angle, but here once again, we've never had a polarizing figure like Trump. So you got to see who runs next. You got to see who runs next, because they're still going to run those kinds of games, but like it depends on the demeanor of the person.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of want Donald Trump to go to jail just so he can't run anymore.
What?
I want him to go to jail so he can't run anymore, because he's been holding us hostage, my nigga. Like that's I've been telling you. If we can get somebody in the Republican Party that's actually like distinguished and like he's like a good person, like a John McCain, that everyone's like, oh, he's not bad. And you know what I'm saying? Versus a Democrat that's also a good person. But as long as Donald Trump doesn't go to jail, or they don't actually do something to make it so he can't run again, he's gonna run until he dies.
I don't think he's gonna run again. I honestly think if he doesn't win this one, he's gonna let it go. And I
can't be sure of that. And because I'm so scared, I need him to go to federal prison so he can't run for president anymore. So we could just be done with this.
You want him sitting in prison? I don't want Trump sitting in prison.
I don't want him sitting in prison forever, but I want him in prison so he can be disqualified.
Just let him sit at Mar-a-Lago and win his club championship.
Oh, then give him house arrest. I'm fine with that too. I just need the fucking verdict to come down so he just can't run anymore, bro. I need him to just not be able to run anymore.
On that conviction? No.
I don't think you're hearing me. I don't give a fuck what he did. Nothing like I don't think you're fucking hearing what I'm saying.
You just need him I just need
him away for a second. Like I've told you before, I don't give a fuck that he fucked this porn star. So what? That's cool. I think that's cool. I don't think that's bad that you fucked a porn star. I'm like, lit. But the thing about it is like I'm being held hostage, and I feel like if he is given, like if he's let off and he has access to run again, he will.
Right.
He will. And I just need it to stop. Like I needed to stop because it's been a shit show for 8 years. And it's like I would love for the Republicans to find a good candidate, like a candidate that they can stand behind. And I would love for the Democrats to find a good candidate. That's a good person. You can be on either side and be a good person.
Right. A solid person who's been running on the same principles for X amount of time and who actually has policies and who has a vision for America and who wants to see. Yeah, exactly.
So you understand what I'm saying?
No, I get exactly.
Like I'm really just sick of this shit show. I'm sick of being a joke. Like regardless of, I understand there are things that I like about Donald Trump. Like I'm gonna be funky with you. There are things that I like about there are things that I like.
There's takeaways from Kamala.
There's takeaways from both sides that I like. But the thing about it is I don't want our country to be a laughingstock, and it will be again if Donald Trump comes back in, and it probably will be if Kamala wins. So it's like, but I'd rather Kamala win because he makes it a huge laughingstock. And like she's
but do you think the only thing I worry about is war? That's the only
And see, that's where I was talking to you about, like, both sides. There's like a thing on both sides for me. I really do think that the Democrats are leading us towards war.
yeah.
I really do think when Donald Trump said World War III, you have to be worried. I was like, that's a very valid thing to say because we are on that path. So yes, I do like the I want women's rights. I want women to have the right to terminate that baby. I don't give a fuck. Like, terminate the baby. Now after the ninth month, I don't think that's actually happening, but like I will say no. No.
They get the baby, they take it out, they say, what do you want to do with it?
Kill it. I don't think any, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I can be funky with like no more abortions after 6 months, 7 months. You know what I'm saying? After
right.
there's a appropriate heartbeat. I don't, but I think women should have the right to do what they want with their body. It's a pet. And I remember we were talking before. I actually brought that up. The same thing. I was watching something and the girl was like, you know, when a baby is a fetus is essentially a parasite because a parasite can't live. The definition of a parasite is a being that can't live outside of its host. So it's like, so I've been saying that, but now that I just heard someone do this argument, I'm like, oh, so it is basically a parasite because it can't live outside of the house. And I think the youngest baby, the youngest age a baby can live outside of the womb is what, 6 months or something like that, 7 months. I don't fucking know. Women's rights.
So tell me, what parasite have you ever known of that at some point grows and gains consciousness?
Well, there's the parasites that burrow in the ants and then force ants to go crazy, kill themselves, and then the parasite starts walking towards the anthill, and then he kills the ant at the anthill, so the other ants eat that ant or something like that, and then it can spread.
So kids,
that's kind of like a sentient, yeah.
So kids,
for children,
that's what they do. They must sacrifice you for the being of themselves.
For the oh god, but no, I that's my take. Like, it's a lot, man. But I think, but see, that's where like now I'm stuck at the war thing because I think war is probably the worst thing that can happen to us.
Oh, by the way, Christopher Sanchez, thanks for coming through, man. Appreciate you.
We love you. We love you, Chris.
We love all y'all. Landon, what's up, bro? If you're still in the chat, Angela, what's good?
Norton, my boy.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all coming through, man.
Yeah. Russell Ward Jr. Yeah, let's give everybody a shout out. Nico,
TP,
you know,
it's
BT, 15 minutes.
Let's pull up this trailer too.
BTP the LMT. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Brian Henderson, we love you. Syncope Bain was cracking. Geo, you know, you're gang. You know,
Geo,
yeah.
Melanin Blessed.
Melanin Blessed. Just type in She Taught Love in YouTube.
Yeah. Southside on the track, yeah.
We got London. Oh, this Young Thug case is ridiculous.
What has happened?
Everybody that they have come up on stage and like on stage.
You say on stage.
On stage. I mean, it's like a stage, nigga. But everybody that come up on stand, like they're supposed to only take 1 day, and everybody's taking like 2 weeks, bro. Like it's crazy.
2 weeks
like per witness.
Okay.
And each witness, they have like 100 witnesses or something like that.
Jesus Christ.
By the time this case is over, even if they give the 7 years, he's gonna have already done that time served.
Got you. Okay, that's crazy.
Okay, so just to give a little run in with this movie is called She Taught Love. I am a producer on it. My buddy, other bestie, Nate Edwards, he actually directed this film. This is his first feature. This is also my first producer credit on a feature. I've worked on several features like The Joker, Superfly, things of that nature, but this is my first credit on it. Maestro, we know you do this, but
I'm super proud of you. This is awesome.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
You know.
And now, no, without further ado, here's She Taught Love trailer.
One moment.
It went away.
Wait. Share. Gotta fire this producer. It's me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, you thought I was talking about that.
I was like, no.
I was talking about podcast producer. That's funny though. I haven't since I never do this. I haven't like built a flow and like this is what you press and then
yeah.
There she is, my favorite runner in the world. I haven't seen you in a minute. I was beginning to think you forgot about me. Swing and a miss.
What are you up to tomorrow?
What?
Did I stutter? What are you doing tomorrow?
When I was little, I wanted to be an astrophysicist.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the study of the universe. I mean, look at it. No one can convince me that what happens here is the beginning and end of everything.
oh, what's happening?
What's happening? So yeah, he was in Arsema. She was in Bridgerton. He was in Barry. He's also been in like he was on a bunch of shows. I think he was on The Wire too.
Yeah, he was on The Wire.
Right?
Jesus Christ. It's the screen share.
It's okay. They saw the beginning of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? They don't have to see the whole thing, but you see that it's coming out on Hulu. Fuck with me. Yeah.
When we post the real version too, I'll just add the full trailer.
Bet.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. But how you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. About to eat some food.
Yeah, me too. I'm about to go. They have a red ribbon at this hotel I'm at. So
a red ribbon or red robin?
No, red ribbon.
What's red ribbon?
It's like a sushi space. It's a sushi /
Oh, I know, blue ribbon.
That's what I meant. It's
Okay,
blue ribbon, the
blue
one that's
ribbon,
inside. They
The
have
Grove.
inside of the Grove. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go get.
You got a nice room there.
Yeah. Oh man, hey.
What's going on in there? You gotta.
I'm
You in
working.
Las Vegas in a crazy room.
Don't tell anybody where I'm at, so they can come and fucking find me on our live. Like, I don't want people to know where I'm at. No,
Hey,
I'm in Idaho. The fuck?
Worse things have happened in that city.
You're right. I'm not. I'm in a good hotel. You can't get me here. No, I'm not challenging you. Don't try to get me here.
You know what's so funny? That's one of the few hotels I'm looking at. I'm like, I don't know that backdrop. What? The fuck was that? My hands are here.
I didn't.
Is that?
Wait.
Oh, because you.
But I didn't do that.
I guess it just does it AI wise. That's crazy. Why don't mine work? Oh, because you're using an Apple camera. You're using your Apple camera. That's why. Okay. And we're out, y'all.
Oh, that doesn't do anything. Okay, bye. Bye.
Peace. Oh, man.